Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So the Queen died. Wow, I was in a public gathering when I heard that she passed. I just went, wow. People started whipping out their phones, to check. I knew it was true. I mean, she's 96. I knew that she was going to pass someday. But the way I went, wow, you would have thought that she was like a long lost friend that someone just broke the news about. And I just didn't even know how to feel in public. I mean, I met the Queen once. My family met her as well as my husband and my sister, and that was a good meeting. And she was just so humble, like you wouldn't even know that she was the queen. Like, like for me then. I mean, this was so many years ago. It must have been over 20 years ago. I knew she was the queen, but it was just so like you know, it was just so normal with the queen. And I took away from that thinking, wow, how can people be so humble even though they have so much air around them, even though they control so much money? I mean, control the country as a monarch, and all of that, and is known worldwide. I just felt like, wow, that it's really something to emulate. And we've been watching a lot about the Queen because I haven't listened to Meghan Markle's podcast, but I knew that there was a podcast. But I like Diana. I liked her fashion. I just liked, the kind of mother that she was. And for the past 2, 3 days, it's been about the Queen in my house. We don't watch the news or anything, but then on YouTube, we've been watching a lot about the Queen, how she became Queen, and that was just another. That's another story in itself. Like what is meant to be yours comes to you. Like see how she became Queen. And that just got me thinking a lot, like yesterday, like sometimes it feels like your destiny is denied, but it's coming. And seeing how much she loved her husband, how this man was a man in his own rights, like he had all these accolades. Like Prince Philip was Prince Philip. Like even when I met the Queen, I met Prince Philip. You knew that this wasn't a man that you messed with. And I'm stopping there. It was very, I don't know if to use the word cheeky, but I felt like it was cheeky. He was quite nice, by the way. But you can just see how both of them just merged together, yin and yang. And I just thought, wow, this is a man who is a man. But then when he stands with his queen, he makes her feel like she's the queen of the room. He doesn't overpower her, and she doesn't give out the vibes of he's my husband, I'm queen, he's underneath me. And you can just, when you follow their story, look at the love that they had for one another. It's just something to admire and emulate. And the fact that her husband died, wow, that was just heartbreaking because they were together for such a long time. I can imagine her just, gossiping with him and saying, you know what happened with Megan, you know what happened with Harry, or with Diana or Andrew and all the stories that we know. And that was another thing. Like she didn't come out to like chastise any of her children. She wasn't that kind of person who just came out shouting. She was a queen with a voice, but not a voice that rattled people, a voice that was heard. So you can actually be a leader without needing to shout. She was that kind of queen who was respected in the nations. And even though we had, Meghan Markle and all the stories, people like me, I still respect the queen. Like the woman was solid, and I think that's just what I kept saying when I heard that she died. I was like, solid, solid, like the woman is solid. And I want to be a solid woman. I don't know about you, solid man, solid woman, but wow, like when I die, I want people to say, wow, she did well. Because I just kept saying, wow, she did well, she did well. And I think people were looking at me like, she did well. Yeah, she did well, she did well. Like in my eyes, she did well. She was a woman of substance, a woman to be reckoned with. This woman had a faith. She was Christian. She did not lie about her faith. She didn't care who was listening. She made it very plain that she was Christian, that she was born again. If you don't know what that means, it means that she believes in Christ and she believes in his resurrection. And she was queen. She did not have to tell people what her faith was. A lot of the celebrities and people who have money now don't even tell people what they believe in because they feel like if they tell people what they believe in, nobody respects them anymore. But the queen just couldn't be bothered. She knew, the politicians knew, they knew where she stood, they knew what kind of person she was. Wow. I think her family would definitely be crying at this time. And it's so sad that there's been all this upheaval here and there with Meghan's podcast and all the stories. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the news in a while, but I don't know if I said this, but in the last 3 days, I think after the podcast was in the news, I've been watching a lot of YouTube just because my brother's been really interested in kids as well. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about the Queen. There's so much to learn, from her, and how she's protected her family, how she's been shush with some things. But I can imagine that, she tries as mother hen. I can imagine that she's mother hen and she tries to cover them, but also to teach them, to direct them. And don't you see that Charles has a sense of humor? My brother was saying that yesterday, and I heard myself say, "Look at the Queen, like." I'm sure she smiles, even though she's not always like. But then you see, like even her grandson Harry, he smiles, and William is just one smiler. My brother was saying yesterday, William is always smiling. I had no idea that I'll be talking about the death of the Queen today, but believe me, I've learned so much from this one woman. This is one woman to emulate, not a woman who went around carrying, fashion bags and shoes and all of that, and Queen and all of that. I know she was old, she was 90 something, but even in her old age, she was still a serving monarch. She was still doing well. She was still lending her voice to the politicians, trying so much during the COVID-19. Look at when she came out and gave a speech, people kind of listened to her speech more than they listened to the other politicians, which is a shame because if you look at countries like my country, Nigeria, sad when the president comes out and no one is really listening to the speech. But that's a speech for another day. But then, yeah, the Queen must have had her own faults. And yes, she had her own faults. But for me, what I see a strong woman who kept a family, who had a husband who she was queen over, if that makes sense. But then she respected her husband and she loved him to the end. She protected her family. She was lovely to the nations. All those allegations of racism and all of that tried to put a dent in her beautiful, beautiful legacy and name. But the Queen is still Queen for me, especially because she held on to her faith to the end. I hope that the heavens, are rejoicing. I'm gonna leave this here. I'll see you in another video. Let me know what you're thinking. But I just thought I'd come and make a very quick video because who knows, I'm gonna look back at this and think, wow, the Queen died. I almost felt like my neighbor died. Not my neighbor, like I don't want any of my neighbors to die, but I felt like, wow, the Queen died, the Queen. Anyway, I'll see you in another video. You take care, subscribe, share. Share? Just depends why you'll be sharing a video like this. But let me know what you're thinking. I'll see you in another one. And I'll be back to making very good videos soon. See you soon. Bye. Bye, Delphine.